Welcome back to The Next Revolution. Joining me now, former Trump campaign manager and author of the fantastic new book, Let Trump Be Trump, Corey Lewandowski. Corey, you've been on just about every other TV show this week. Congrats on the book. Congrats on the rollout. I'm very pleased, though, you managed to stop by on our little show this Sunday evening. It's great to see you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Steve.
Now, I think that having seen you on a lot of different occasions, I think the one where I really appreciated what you brought to the Trump campaign was when you went right into the lion's den there with Morning Joe over on MSNBC. How did that feel?
Well, it was both Morning Joe and, I don't think this gets much ratings, but I also went on The View, and it was kind of like the Octagon, right? So I had to go and get ready, prepare myself, little martial arts ahead of time, and then some verbal jujitsu, because you have a few people there who just don't want to give this president the credit. And, Steve, the big story this week that not enough people are talking about is the decision the president made as it relates to Israel. There are 12 presidents preceding him that pledged to do what he did, and in his first year in office, he fulfilled another campaign promise, which is to recognize the legitimate capital. This is a huge deal that is not getting enough press.
And I'm glad you brought that up, and it's a perfect example of what you said throughout the campaign, and the title of your book, which is Let Trump Be Trump. This is a perfect example of Trump being Trump, just being incredibly clear, saying something and sticking to it. So I appreciate that. I wanted to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. We talked earlier about the tax bill. Obviously, many of us here agree that that will be a terrific result if that is passed. But the question I've got for you is, going back to the campaign, you and I talked in the campaign, and we really kind of saw eye to eye on the fact that the Republican establishment really detest Donald Trump. They detested him in the election. Frankly, they detest him now. They understand that they have to work with him. They're going to get this tax bill done, fine. But the theory that I've heard, and actually there's some sort of makes some sense to me, is, look, the minute that President Trump signs that tax bill is the moment of maximum danger for him, because they don't need him anymore. And it's at that point that all the establishment Republicans think, we've had enough of you, it's time to get rid of you, and will try to move against him in Washington. What do you think about that theory?
I think Donald Trump is exceptionally popular amongst the Republican base. His base is stronger and more visceral now today than it was on Election Day a year ago. And if you look at those 10 Democrats sitting in seats in states where Donald Trump won last cycle, they are looking for his help. They're looking for his guidance. They want to work with the president in West Virginia, in Montana, in Missouri, in places where the president is exceptionally popular. And when it comes to the Republican Party, what we have seen is if a Republican is not willing to play ball, this president is willing to call them out to fulfill the campaign promises that he made. And if they're not willing to get on board, then he has no problem calling them out and asking for someone to replace them.
So can he actually take on, in your view, the entire Republican establishment in D.C. and win? Because there's no question, when you go to, I was in D.C. last week, all you hear is the fact that whatever they say in public, they have total contempt for the president and basically wish he was gone.
Well, look, the Republican establishment, if that includes the guys like Jeff Flake and Ben Sasse, people who have completely failed to be leaders in the U.S. Senate, then look, absolutely they can. And Jeff Flake has decided not to seek re-election because he knew he was going to lose in the state of Arizona because Donald Trump is going to support somebody else. And if the Republican establishment are those people who want to keep Washington in the same way it's been for 30 years, which is a complete failure, then yes, they're going to lose because the people of this great country voted for change, and that change is Donald Trump, and change has come to Washington.
Well, I agree with you that it's come to a certain part of Washington. I think the big thing that's missing is that kind of populist revolution going beyond the White House and actually coming to Congress. And I think that's why your book is such a useful reminder of the scale of the achievement in taking on and beating that entire Republican establishment.